Like I was watching your videos and there's one where you said I was dealing with depression. I know we're starting strong.
No, that's the most important video I've made so far, I think.
Why do you feel that way? That it's the most powerful video
Because it's the most vulnerable I've been on camera.
ever.
And also it's my everything. You know, filmmaking was my everything. It still is my everything. But this episode of my life showed me that when you push it to the limit, it can destroy you, especially when you care about something. When you care about something so deep and you go too far with it, it can destroy you. So yeah, it's also a lot of very vulnerable parts of who I am and my life and my choices. I open up about a lot of different topics. So I would say it's a very important one. Yeah. It also shows you who I am truly at core and also my values. But also because it's so personal, I think it can benefit a lot of people as well. It's not just a very niche specific topic that I'm speaking about like in the rest of my videos. It's something deeply personal, something, that is just relatable in a way, you know, to a certain extent, to a certain degree, I guess.
And how do you like? I know you love traveling. Since when?
Oof, since forever.
How did you figure out like I love traveling? Like this is my thing, and filming it and documenting it and film. When did you discover that passion?
Before starting to actually start traveling, I guess it was
Through
through books and movies and conversations.
Was there like a movie where you're looking at it and you're like, fuck?
If you're speaking specifically about travel, yeah, Into the Wild was a movie that really impacted me because, yeah, it's the story of a guy who was just like, fuck capitalism. I proved myself to my parents and to my community. I got the grades I needed in university. Now I'm going to do my own thing, and just burnt all this money and just started traveling, meeting people, having meaningful relationships and conversations with the people he would meet, and doing whatever he wanted, you know, using his freedom to really discover himself, not in the hippie, stupid bullshit, modern way, but like deep, you know, deeply. It really impacted me. But again, there's a lot of like books and movies and conversations that impacted me. Just even speaking to a person who traveled somewhere, speaking to you about a specific history, about a specific country. I was just like, I would just look at this person and I was like, wow, like I wish I could, but I felt like I was stuck in Lebanon, you know? Because in the South, our neighbors closed the borders and we closed the borders to them. In the East, same thing with the Syrian civil war, you know. It was hard to travel overland outside of Lebanon. And I was too young to just catch a flight and go wherever I wanted. You know, I had obligations, you know, I had to obey my parents. I had to go to school. I had to do specific things. I couldn't just do whatever I wanted to do. You know, I didn't even have the financial backing to do whatever I wanted to do. So I guess this bottling up of like wanting to travel, but not being able to, made me appreciate my freedom once I had it. So once I was able to leave Lebanon and actually start traveling and taking my own decisions and doing whatever I wanted with my time and my energy and my money, I was like, I'm going to appreciate every single second I have of this, because I know what it is to not have that, you know? And live it through books and movies and conversations, which is good, but not enough. You know, I think some of the most precious things you can do in your life is truly experience life, you know, through like living it, not just absorbing the information, but like being part of it.
You've been through so many countries. I got to know you from you going on a bicycle through Africa. So how did this idea come to mind? How did you actually say to yourself, fuck it, I'm doing it?
The moment where I had the idea was, I think in like the penultimate school year before finishing. That's 11th grade for English.
Did you like school?
Huh?
Did you like school? Or
I made the most out of it.
Okay.
I made the most out of it, but I totally hated school. Yeah. I tried to have fun as much as I could, because I believed that memorizing something, spitting it out, and forgetting after the exams was the most stupid way to learn something. There's so many better ways to learn something. And yeah, they teach things that are important and interesting, genuinely, in the most boring way possible. And it's such a tragedy, you know? That's why we don't have this culture of wanting to be intellectual nowadays, you know? once you love a specific topic or want to inform yourself in a specific topic, oh, you're labeled as the nerds, right?
Yeah.
No, you should be proud of knowing something or being interested in a specific topic or different topics, you know? But I think the way our school system is built is there's a lot to work on for sure. But
You were very nice. You were very nice. I would have said it differently.
In terms of what?
I would have been insulting.
For the school system. Yeah, there's a lot, but I get why it still is the way it is.
The way it is, yeah.
Because if you want to fight against something, you have to have empathy towards it. You have
True.
to you can't judge it, you can't attack it because you'll not get to anywhere. And I would really want to like suggest an alternative way to educate our future children, you know? I think there's a lot of options. There's a lot of ways to educate. Education is a never-ending process within your lifetime, you know? And it's not just, oh, you finish school and then you're worthy enough, you know? No, it should continue. But school should give you the basics in terms of skills and values, specifically, not just memorization of specific facts and figures. This is not the way you learn about life. It's values. When you teach someone honesty, when you teach someone discipline, when you teach someone hard work, that's more than enough for people to absorb information.
Yeah.
And find their own way to do so. Anyways, that's the
Our ADHD
the parenthesis that we opened. But
there's a point you said about empathizing and not judging the thing to be able to change it. I want to cover it, but in a different way. I'm going to tell you after. But we were talking about now the fact that you chose to do your trip to Africa.
Yeah. So it came through boredom and looking at a map and procrastinating while being in school, probably in math class or something.
Okay.
I was just like, what am I doing with my life? And I started thinking, you know, I completely zoned out. And the teacher's speaking and the people are taking notes. And I'm just like, if I die today,
Oof, what a question.
Yeah, it's you got to ask yourself important questions like that, you know, especially when you're so bored that you want to like kind of trigger yourself.
Trigger something to
you know, you want to entertain yourself with like the darker questions. Like if I die today, what would I have accomplished? And would I be, I mean, I'm not saying that life is about accomplishing things. Everyone has their own notion of what success is and happiness is. But for me, like I'm a highly driven person and I had a lot of goals at that time. But I just conceptualized and I was like, if I died today, what would I have done out of everything that I wanted to do? And it was like nothing. I wouldn't be proud looking back. Like it's just like, I just did whatever I had to do. And I didn't even do it the best way I could. And then I was like, what would I do with my time if I had full control, if I had no money problems, if I had no time problems, if I had no energy problems? That's the question you should ask yourself, you know, like if you had no boundaries, what would you be doing with your time? And that's what you should be doing.
This is what I feel when I look at your content. I feel like this guy is really living what you just said.
I'm glad you say that. Thank you so much. I've had that a lot. A lot of people have been telling me that. And I'm a bit shocked that like people do admire that because that means that they are probably not doing that either.
And that
you're not one of them, clearly. You're doing what you love and that's amazing. And I'm doing what I love and that's amazing. And I think we're both in a privileged position to be able to do so. Yeah. But we also fucking worked hard for it, you know? Yeah. And we're still struggling. It's not an easy journey. But I think a lot less people than what there should be are not doing what they should be doing. You know?
Man, this question you said, you know, if I remember, for example, clearly I was experimenting with content. Okay, it was back in 2020. And one day my mother gets a phone call and she starts crying. And she tells me your grandma passed away.
Damn.
And so we went to the funeral and I see the casket and everyone's crying. And at that moment, I don't know why I get a thought. One day that you're going to be in that casket yourself. So coming back in the car, I was like, it's now or never. It's either you do this shit or you don't do it. Period. So I took big sheets of white paper and I started writing the goal. Inspire 1 million followers in 12 months. That was my goal.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I wrote that and then my mom, it was like at the middle of the night, coming back from I just came back from the funeral like 8, 9 p.m. My mother comes in the room, looks up at the sheets of paper and she's like, La Jeanne, they went crazy. He's done. And she's always been a motivating person. No, she motivated me, not consciously. And then she told me, "You're never gonna do this."
Your mom or your grandmother?
My mom.
Your mom.
You're never gonna do that. This is not possible. Like, it's not feasible. It's not realistic. And for me, I think I resonate with you so much because you also, the word realistic is
You know, there's one quote that I really relate to, and I make it one of my mottos. It's those who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. It's as simple as that. You know, if you're not going to have a bit of faith in this thing you want to do, who else is going to have it for you? You know, we're alone in our bodies. No one can feel our pain. No one can think our thoughts. No one can feel our happiness. It's up to us. We have to take ownership. It's not something that's easy to do because most people are not aware of the potential they have within themselves. And I think that comes with just trying out a lot of different things and with genuine curiosity and testing out where your limits are and seeing where and how am I operating in this life, you know, and projecting a lot. It's amazing that you had this thought when you looked at your grandmother. I'm just interested, like how did you, where did that thought come from? Like in terms of mortality, in terms of how did you internalize that thought of death while looking at your grandma?
I guess because most of us are running away from that fact. When the truth is that fact is the thing that could change everything in your life, your perspective, your whole fucking way of living, your whole everything. And at that moment, I was like, oh, fuck, you know. It's for me when I go, my best friends, the two of my best friends, we were talking about him before. When his mother passed away, 1 month after his father passed away, two of my best friends.
Damn.
And when we went to the hospital, I was like, fuck, man, this is the truth. There's nothing more truthful than that this is, and this is where you realize the essence of life, what's essential. And I guess in your, I want to go back to your journey. I think it's beautiful that you started at that place. The place of, if I died today, would I be satisfied with how I lived? And that was like the trigger point.
One of them, yes. Yeah.
And what happened next after that?
I don't know. I just tapping deep into myself. I was like, I'm a soul of an adventurer. I just want to go out there. I have a lot of energy. I'm very sociable. And I'm very curious about the world, genuinely curious. I don't know where the curiosity comes from. I still ask myself this question every day because my goal is to make more people curious as well, but I have to first understand myself to be able to do that with others.
That's why you journal so much.
Exactly. And looking at the map of Africa was always a mystery to me. It's a continent that's very misrepresented in the media and misunderstood by the rest of the world. And it's a lot more diverse and rich than what we may think. Typically what we think about in Africa, about when we think about Africa, we typically think of, poverty, wars, corruption, and like zebras. It's just, but I was like, no, there's a lot more to this. And I've had glimpses of what Africa is like through books and documentaries, etc. But I was like, it's nothing even close to if I actually go out there and experience it for myself. I also liked a lot sports. I really genuinely think that playing any type of sports is one of the best thing you could do to yourself, to your body, to your mind, to everything. You learn very important values through sports, whether it's sports that you're playing on your own or as a team. And cycling was always an amazing way for me to work out because you're moving, you're seeing different things, and you are really absorbing deeply everything that you're seeing on the way, You look at every person that you cross paths with, you smell every smell, you feel every pedal stroke. And with that comes a lot of meritocracy, You earn the view at the end of the day when you cycle, It comes with a lot of momentum as well, To cycle, you have to create the momentum. There's an initial push. And then once it's rolling, and it's deeply satisfying, just like on a very physical aspect. And I was like, if I can bind sports with exploration and documentation, there's something really special there, you know? Showcasing the world the way it is, the way I'm experiencing it on the bike, you know? We tend to live our lives chasing our next interests, you know? Or what we think is our interests. We go from point A to point B, you know? I came today from my house to yours, one interest. You will go today to, I don't know, go and have dinner with some friends, next interest, you know, point A to point B. And we miss completely what's in between. You know, we take the car, like very literally and figuratively, both ways. We miss out on what's outside of our bubble. We miss out on everything that's in between this point A to point B on like a physical level as well. But with a bicycle, you're forced to see reality the way it is, you know? When you cycle and you pass through villages, people don't owe you anything, and you don't owe anything to those people. There's no relationship. There's no interests or common interests there. And I think with that comes an amazing amount of serendipitous moments that you learn a lot from. And
what did you learn?
Oh my gosh, so much. First of all, I saw a completely different side of life, you know, because, you know, we're middle class.
Yeah.
We live in a middle class society. We come from a specific background in Lebanon. This has been our world for long periods of time. And when you go out there and you socialize with beggars, when you socialize with kings, when you socialize with accountants, when you socialize with cleaners, like the whole spectrum of society in terms of jobs, in terms of the social economical backgrounds, but also different generations. You know, we don't really often talk to older people or younger people. When's the last time you spoke to like a young kid or spoke to an older person that is not part of your family? You know, I can't even think of this because I'm not on a bike, but when you're on a bike, you do that on a daily basis. And with that comes a lot of insight on how people perceive their lives, their cultures, etc. And also moving through Africa. Africa is not a monolith. It's not a country. People speak about Africa as a country. Oh, I went to Africa once. We never say that about, like, we don't say I went to Asia. We say I went to Thailand. I went to Phuket, you know, but they don't say I went to like Swaziland. I went to Ghana, you know. People don't tend to say this, but it's important to state it because there's a big distinction between the countries there and even between the regions of different of each country, you know. Like just take Ethiopia. Ethiopia, every region speaks a different language, and in each region there's even a whole different set of languages, different tribes, and wow, like you really start recognizing different cultures, and at the same time you see what is beyond culture, what bridges us all together as humans, you know? When you look at Lebanese politics, like everybody's speaking about, oh, we have to do this, Lebanon has to be like this, Lebanon has to be like that. No one speaks about like, these are the basic fucking human needs that we need. This is the healthcare that we deserve. You know, this is how we should manage the waste industry. No one speaks about, we all have common needs and we all agree on this, but we always keep in our conversations what divides us instead of what bridges us together, you know? So it's important to notice what like divides us, but also what bridges us together. And as a storyteller, I like to document that, but in a very realistic way. I show the optimism and I show the hope in the videos, but I also don't deny the reality of how shitty a place is or how shitty the status quo is, because sometimes it could be brutal. And some people are just like, oh no, yeah, let's just sugarcoat it. Oh, this is beautiful. Or no, this is fucking terrible. No, there's a balance for everything. And with the good storytelling, you can show everything. So it's about learning through the experience about cycling across Africa, but also transmitting what I've learned through different mediums, you know, writing, videography, etc. Yeah.
What's a story, cycling through Africa, what's a story that sticks out where you were deeply touched?
Wow, that's a hard question. I mean, you're asking me to like pick one moment out of 16 months on the road. One story that impacted me in what way? That touched me in what way?
Where you had a deep emotional reaction within, where you felt a deep feeling of love or joy or gratitude. It doesn't have to be one moment.
Okay, I'm thinking of multiple. I'm just trying to see like how can I share that? Yeah, there's one that came up to mind. We were trekking in the Simin Mountains of Ethiopia above 4,500 meters above sea level. Above, I said above twice, anyways. And there was this guy, he was our scout. His name was Mogus. And he was super silent. He was never speaking. He had this like Kalashnikov to protect us in case anything happened, because Ethiopia is quite unsafe. And he was just like so genuinely kind and nice and smiling. And he never asked anything from us. And he was so hardworking, you know, he would guard us all night long in the cold with like, he didn't even have sandals. He had like pieces of plastic like around his feet. And we were freezing. We had like 3 layers of clothes. It was crazy. And this guy never complained or anything. And just being able to communicate with our eyes together was truly magical. And just thanking him and just observing him in this beautiful atmosphere, you know, this mountain plateau that is almost surreal. You have like groups of mountain monkeys and like super rare wolves and stuff, and like beautiful nature. And you have this guy who's just like never complaining and doing what he needs to do, and just so much humility. It was beautiful to witness. Another moment was, for example, when I was hunting with the Hadzabe in Tanzania. They're hunter-gatherers, some of the last hunter-gatherers on our planet.
For someone who doesn't know, sorry to interrupt, what's a hunter-gatherer?
It's a group of people who live out of hunting and gathering. They don't cultivate.
So they live in the wild, and
they live in the wild, and they hunt and gather. They get some roots, like some veggies that they find underground or like on the trees, like some fruits. They pick honey and they hunt animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Those people were incredible. So what happened was we were tracking a bush pig for 9 hours. We woke up at like 5 a.m. and we saw some footprints of a bush pig who passed by in the last few hours. And we followed those footprints and like where some of the tree branches were broken down. And we finally found the bush pig. I wasn't hunting, I was filming. I was hunting for the image. And then I was with a group of 3 guys. There was Sokolo, Mandoa, and Ndunya. And 2 of them, I think it was Ndunya and Sokolo, they started shooting arrows to the bush pig. The bush pig died. The dogs kind of paralyzed the bush pig. And yeah, the hunter-gatherers finished it off, you know, because it's dangerous. If the bush pig is not fully dead, the bush pig can attack, and it's dangerous. So we cut it up and stuff into pieces, and we have to walk back to the camp. And then what happens is really interesting. I hear a kudu. A kudu is one of the big gazelles that they go hunt there, and it's the biggest animal in their area that they could find that could feed the tribe for like a week and a half. And I was like, guys, there's a kudu, you know? I was speaking through a translator. He's a guy from the neighboring tribe who comes from the Datoga people, but he could speak Hadzane as well, which is the language that the 3 hunters would speak. And I told my translator, tell them there's a kudu. I heard it. I'm sure I saw it as well. It's like a few hundred meters from there, like on the other hill. And the translator tells the guys, and the guys are like, we don't need that. We have a bush pig. And I'm like, yeah, but like you can get the bush pig and the kudu, you know? That's how we think in the rest of the world. Just collect as much as you can, you know? If you can have it, just take it. And they're like, no, it's fine. If the kudu is going to be there tomorrow, we'll have it. Now let's just be satisfied with what we have. And like, and I was just like, wow, that like really changed my perspective on like how, especially the Western culture shaped the way we think about life, about, just like accumulating to survive, you know, and thinking that's the way. And with them, I really learned how to live in the present moment. You know, after we cut up the bush pig and ate it, we sat down. It was delicious. It was delicious. We tasted other stuff that wasn't, like monkeys and stuff that wasn't good. But the bush pig was. Yeah. After eating that bush pig, we sat down for 5 hours around a bonfire under the stars, and there was the winds just like the breeze, you know, hitting. And I couldn't speak a word of their language, and they couldn't speak a word of mine, you know. and we just got to communicate and understand each other in some ways, you know,
through hand
gestures, like smiles, facial expressions, you know, the eyes. It's weird. I can't describe it to you, but that's how we got to discuss. And I was just there thinking, you know, like those guys are so deep rooted in the present moments. They don't have anxieties. They don't.
Nature also.
They're just fully immersed in nature. They're in tune with nature. They're in constant communication with nature, quite literally, you know. And I was like, wow, we are just so pathetic, and we think they're the savages. Yeah, it really touched me. And I spent 4 days with them, and in less than a month, I'm going to go back and live with them for a full month, because 4 days, if I got to learn so much in 4 days, I was like, what can I learn in a month, you know? I mean, it's such a unique, and those guys are going to be gone, you know, in a generation or two. Mm-hmm. Modernization is going to catch up to them, and
they don't have iPhones, I guess, right?
Obviously not. They don't. The only utensils and tools they have is like knives and arrowheads that they trade with the neighboring group. Like 2 generations ago, they would use rocks to like cut down some parts of the bones of the animals they hunt to make it sharp to use it as arrowheads. Like that's what they would use, you know. Now that they're like, okay, maybe arrowheads are a bit more of a technological advancement that we can, but they still, you know, they've been in touch with like Christian missionaries for over a century now, but they decided to maintain their traditions and their culture and their ideologies. And I think it's just beautiful, like to just really be in touch with who you are, and still be open enough to like modernize in some ways, but still stay loyal to your roots and your origins and maintain that. It's beautiful.
Man, I can't imagine. For example, I remember myself. I had it's a dumb story, but it illustrates your point. I was in the UK, and it was the last week of fucking exams, and I'm a master procrastinator with things I don't like. So I left 8 exams till eight assignments till the final 3 months of the entire fucking 3 years.
Wow.
And I said to myself, okay, fuck it, you have to do something about it. It's either it's either you fail, you repeat all the year, or you fucking do something about it. Because I was
ChatGPT
at the time. There was no ChatGPT at the time, and I was focusing on mentally great at the time, and so this is why I wasn't studying. And I was like, oh fuck, you have to do something. So I put my phone in the city center in my studio, and I would walk up a hill that was beautiful, where you can imagine, like you can see small UK shops and all the people, and it's like nature, and it was magnificent, and there was a library at the top. So I would go every day without my phone. And one day I go there, and I woke up that day fucking pissed. I was like, fuck this shit, man. كل يوم عم بطلع fucking 10 hours studying. No.
You can't anymore. Yeah.
I was like, fuck this shit. But I still went. And funny enough, before entering the library, I look at there was a small garden with a tree. Like, fuck, let me meditate, bro. Let me get myself together. And so I sit under the tree, and I close my eyes and just relax the body. And I have one of the most powerful spiritual awakenings of my life. I didn't.
How?
It got to a point where the voice in the mind was shut off. There was nothing. And then I opened my heart. It's figurative. It's hard to explain. It's
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I feel it now, for example, when I talk about it, and you feel connected to everything. You feel like you're replenished, like you're a new. I don't know how to explain it.
Were you on mushrooms or
no? I was going to tell you. I guess this is what it feels like when you are.
Yeah.
And so I opened my eyes, and everything feels new. And those 3 months where I was studying were the most peaceful 3 months of my life. I had no phone.
Wow.
Peace, man. The purest level of peace.
And you got it done.
I got it done.
Wow.
It made me realize that, every time I open my phone, me and Ryan, he's my best friend. He's behind the cam, by the way, guys, for everyone who's looking. We realize that our phone is a big fucking anxiety producer.
Yeah. In French, there's a quote that says, au grand mot, au grand remède. As in like, for the big fucking problems, you gotta employ big, how do you say this?
Solutions,
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I just want to like completely like abandon the phone, get a Nokia and like be able. But again, like extremes are never good or sustainable. So I downloaded an app, not sponsored by the way, but it's called Opal.
Opal, okay.
Yeah. It's it just blocks your apps for the duration of time.
And no way that you open them during that time.
There's it's impossible unless you delete the app. But then to re-log in and stuff, they make it like really long. So you don't want to delete it because you don't want to go through that process.
Fuck, man. And how does that, what was like the before after?
It does help a lot, but you still get this, because like WhatsApp, I don't block it because I need to speak, because my work and my personal life is mixed within this one app.
Yeah.
And it's tough to like separate, like you got to work it out to like create a like WhatsApp business and stuff. And
yeah.
So I'm figuring this out, but yeah, I still get distracted, but it definitely helps you focus, you know? And I also try to have like one day a week where I disconnect a bit. It's very important. And also try to remove the guilt that I'm not answering people on time sometimes. Although I feel like shit, I'm like, I don't want people to like not answer to me when I speak to them, you know? But you got to remove that. And you got to be like mental health before anything, you know, the focus before anything. There's Cal Newport. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah,
he does a lot of
deep work.
Yeah. Really good book. He did a lot of, I mean, he really focuses on all those things, but it's, it's an epidemic. And I think it's important to speak about it for what it is, an epidemic.
It is.
It really is.
I guess those hunter-gatherers were to show you, if you looked at them, were they actually happy? Were they in love with life, or
that's not up to me to say. It's hard to like, would you say I'm happy?
I guess, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know.
It's such a conceptual idea, you know. Happiness. It's. I think they were fulfilled. I think they have a mode of life that makes them satisfied on a daily basis. And I think inherently as humans, if we live deep rooted in the present, it's a way better way to live.
And more, I'll tell you why I said that, because I read a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Yeah, is it good?
It's really good.
Yeah,
it's one of the best fucking good books I've ever read, and I love reading. I read it, and he said, there was this lawyer who was just hustle culture, making money, getting girls, all the usual stuff of Miami, LA type shit. And he got to a point where he fell down in a heart attack in the middle of a court case.
Wow.
Because he was
Is that a real story?
It's a real story. I think it's a real, I'm pretty sure. And so he goes to the doctor and he says, you have two options. It's either you fix your fucking lifestyle or you're going to die. And I guess it comes back to the point of death. The fucking, it changes everything all the time. So he said to himself, I have to fix this shit. And where did he go? He went to the Himalayas.
Okay.
To live with the monks for like a period of time. I don't know how much. And he goes to live with the monks and he starts doing the things they do, right? He starts living in the present. He starts serving people selflessly with no ulterior motives. And we'll talk about that if you want, because I think through your journey, you had to do some stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he started finding more and more happiness and wisdom from the monks, right? They told him about purpose, about discipline, about about the present, about the fact that you should master your mind by meditation, etc. And he comes back, and the people that used to know him as this guy that was the most stressed, fucking burnt out, rich guy, right? A lot of money. They look at him and they see a completely new person, new face, new joy coming through his eyes. Like you said, the eyes reveal a lot. You can not speak a word, but you could see the eyes of someone and know. And he was a new person from nature and from living in that raw state.
Yeah. And how did he tackle his life after?
He was a completely new person.
He kept doing what he did, but in a different perspective.
Yeah. He kept doing the practices, but just in life with everyone he met.
That's amazing. But I don't, there's a certain mysticism that comes with like the guy who has to go in a long journey to figure out their life and like heal and stuff. But like you can do it sitting down at home or like in your daily life. Yeah.
This is why it comes back to the point. Remember when I told you there was the point on empathy and non-judgment from the beginning? this was my point, was your feelings within, it's the same process. And I guess you went through mental health, and we all go through it. Like, I've gone through shit, and I never talk. More recently, I started talking, but no. How do you feel about that? The inner journey? Because you discover a lot on the outside, but I guess...
Yo, I had so many thoughts at once, and I was like, fuck, they canceled themselves out now. The inner journey. Wow, okay. I think, first of all, a change of environment is very important. And it is part of your outer journey. But I think you transport your problems wherever you go. And that's where the inner journey comes in.
Yeah.
And that's why you also have to be conscious of that inner journey and tackle it no matter where you are.
Yeah.
A change of environment can inspire you. You know, it can trigger like short-term change through action. But if the circle doesn't loop, you know, motivation, inspiration, action, etc. Sorry, inspiration, motivation, action. If it doesn't keep looping into more inspiration and then more motivation and then more action, then it's gonna die out because it's emotional. It's not rational. You gotta convert that emotional side of yourself in this inner journey to make it rational.
Yeah.
Deeply understand yourself. I mean, in every culture, there's like the greatest thinkers always say like, know thyself. It's really that. So I think and the inner journey comes with practical things like journaling, taking time with no distractions. A walk in nature daily could be great, you know, a good conversation with a therapist or like a regular conversations with therapists could be great. Even like works of art, like making a movie. You mentioned it, making a movie that could be cathartic for you depending on what topic you're tackling, because it forces you to deal with like the deep shit, you know,
the hidden stuff
or the stuff that you're trying to like suppress, but that, you know, you have to observe and understand to be able to move forward
and empathize, and not judge, to process it.
Towards yourself, not towards others.
Not
all
towards,
the time.
yeah, from inside.
Exactly. You stop judging others. Huh?
He said he's feeling goosebumps.
Yeah.
What's like your story going through that process you just described? Like, what was it like for Roberto to go through the inner journey for yourself?
The journey doesn't end, you know. There's different chapters to it, I guess. For me, I had to learn it the hard way. Sometimes I had to go through burnouts and depressions to be able to figure out parts of myself that I didn't understand. And yeah, you can also discover that through relationships, not just romantically, but like through different dynamics, through different conversations, through...
I guess relationship, because I see it in myself, it struck a chord.
Yeah.
I think relationships show you the unconscious parts the most clear way.
I think relationships is the easiest way nowadays to understand yourself, because you go so intimate with your partner, if you have one, and so vulnerable that when things don't go right, it really hits your deepest insecurities. It really hits your deeper sides of who you are that you're not really in control of because of the way you've been brought up or the traumas you've gone through. And it puts all the shit to the surface and you got to deal with it. And that's why I think breakups on the short term are horrible, but on the long term,
healing
really help. Yeah. I've never had a like true breakup. I kind of fear it, but I know that it's going to come eventually. We'll see.
It's always that feeling of just not feeling enough. That I guess comes up, but sometimes it comes up, like you said, everything that you've stored up inside, when it gets triggered, that sometimes it's going to come up and you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
You can't we tend to escape. Like, for example, me, I escape sometimes. I go through work and I try to just work.
Workaholism is a form of addiction.
Eating fucking chocolate. If you see my daughter's before my daughter's order list, you're like, this guy's a fucking psychopath.
Wow.
But I this year, if I had to sum it up, it was exactly what you just described. Everything that was bottled up coming to the surface, and me having to just accept with empathy and non-judgment these things within.
I think like even if we think that there's a lot that came out and we understood ourselves, I think there's a lot more, so much more that is going to come up, and we have to be ready. You know, we have to take it like champs and just like head first, fuck it. You know, I think also as humans, everything we do. You said not self-acceptance. You said something like
non-judgment.
No, not non-judgment. Like what we do is to feel accepted or something like that.
Not enough.
Yeah, we feel that we're not enough. Everyone feels that we're not enough. I think everything we do in life
to try to get that
is a way to prove to oneself that your existence is worthy enough. And worthy enough for yourself. And what is the best way to assess that and test that out is through the look of others and what they think about you. And that's why we're kind of a social animal as well, you know, because we need each other to survive in a way, you know. I mean, they're both compatible in both ways. It goes both, like it doesn't justify it, but the other way doesn't justify it either. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, continue. I'm trying to understand. I'm understanding it.
Yeah, it's like everything we do is to feel accepted, because if we do feel accepted,
then we accept ourselves.
We accept ourselves, but also we increase our chances of survival because we can't make it alone. We're not wired for this. You know, we evolved as a social animal. And that's why it's so important for us to feel like we're enough, you know? And when we don't feel like we're enough, there's a void that we're trying to fill, and there's a deadline to it, which is death. And you're like, fuck, like I got to figure that out without knowing what the deadline is. It is a stressful thing. And that's why it's important also to like take it day by day and be deep rooted in the present, all while having goals. Obviously there's a right balance with everything. We can't be hunter gatherers, all of us. Yeah. But yeah, yeah, that's why it's important to go through the inner journey and do the work, because yeah, if you don't, you sleepwalk through life. You don't own your life.
Like we said before, that the quote of Carl Jung, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, then it rules your entire life, and you start living in ways where you're like, fuck, why did I do that? Sleepwalking.
And the worst tragedy is seeing someone that is conscious but not making the right decisions based on that, because of fear.
Fear is a big thing.
It's huge. It's huge, but it's about rationalizing it. Fear, the best way to fight fear is curiosity. Like, what if I can go beyond this fear, and rationalizing it, because fear is emotional. It's an emotional response. Yeah. You can't really, but when you are trying to understand where did this fear come from? How can I tackle it? Is there a method to it, etc.? You know, you're not the only one in the world who has this specific fear.
What's like your process? Because I don't know why I got a gut feeling here that you have a kind of, when fear pops up, like you know how to deal around it.
It depends what types of fears.
Okay.
If you put me on a rock 20 meters above a cold river, okay, I'm gonna be fucking shaking. but I want to tackle that fear. I will one day.
But I feel like the types of fear where it's like, it's not like there's a fucking lion, you know? It's a fear that's within. Do you know how to deal? What's like your process for dealing with it?
Okay, let's say Africa, for example.
Yeah.
When I took the decision I'm going to cycle across Africa, I was terrified. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know anything about this continent, or barely. There's war. There is wars. There is people that will come with guns and ask you for everything you have. There is a risk that you get into an accident or a car crash or a truck crash, which almost happened multiple times in Zambia. Terrible country to cycle through.
Zambia. You can see it in the way he said it.
but yes, but I was like, my love for knowledge and for exploration and my curiosity for learning about this life was bigger than this fear. And so I was like, okay, how am I gonna cycle across Africa without dying and with being able to tell the story, you know? And first thing I was like, cycling Africa on Instagram, #cycling Africa. Clicked on every post, DM'd every person that posted recently, had like 19 or 20 different calls within 3 months. asked every question possible of every person that cycled a part of Africa or the few who did the whole thing, because I wasn't the first. And I discovered that I wasn't the first. Because when you have a crazy idea like that, you don't know where you're getting yourself into. And then you rationalize. You're like, okay, there's more internet than what I thought in most of Africa, you know? There is less wars than what I thought. Lions are not going to eat you alive if you're in your tent before sunset. There is ways to tackle things. If someone comes and stops you at gunpoint, which happened, by the way, how do you there is ways to study.
What did you do? What did you do at gunpoint? You can't tell me that. You know, I'm a curious person.
You won't believe it. And you might think I'm exaggerating it, but I was like, I could literally die right now. So I played dumb. It was the middle of the night. It was in the middle of nowhere in the northern Kenyan deserts. And I just played dumb for 7 minutes straight, put a smile, took one of the two guys that had the guns pointed at me by the shoulder. And I started saying the most random shit with a smile. I was like, bro, look at the stars, bro. You like bananas? You like bananas? I'm not even kidding. I was shaking, but I had to act confident with the hope that like they either think I'm completely fucking crazy and they take pity on me, or so confused that they will just like let it go. And they did. And I was fucking terrified after it.
That's a genius move.
It was, I don't fucking know how I had the reflex to do that, but I was like, if I'm gonna like show that I'm scared, I'm gonna die. Like the guy can shoot me. No one is gonna be there to like find my body, bro. Like he'll feed me to the cheetahs, you know? So yeah, it was just like, okay, this is the situation. What is the best thing I can do now? If you can't convince them, confuse them.
That's the finishing quote.
But yeah, it was terrifying. I was shitting myself for sure. I mean, yeah, they don't even speak any language that I learned a bit.
They didn't even speak English?
They obviously didn't speak English. They didn't speak English
at all.
So they didn't understand anything I was saying. I spoke a bit of Swahili and a bit of Amharic, which are the two languages that people speak in this region. Because northern Kenya, they spoke Swahili, and Ethiopia, which is like near the border I just passed, they spoke Amharic. They actually spoke a language called Borana, which is a tribal language. And people in this region of the world, like they move between borders, and they don't even know what a border is. It's an arbitrary concept that Europeans fucking drew, and you have no idea what it is. You know, as a tribesman, you just have your cows and you're moving around, and you don't give a fuck about things. You know, and for them, that like a lot of like border towns and stuff have those type of people. They don't know what a border is. They don't know what, and you really get to see how the continent has evolved with colonialism and everything. And those people, because they've been segregated by a specific border, they have to survive in a way by moving their cattle in parts that are a lot more green to be able to graze their cattle. And they find themselves in Kenya sometimes they find themselves in Ethiopia, and sometimes it's not enough, you know, because of the modern world. They can't live the way they were living before. So they take weapons when they can find some, and they become bandits to survive, which is crazy.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And you met bandits also? So these people
They
you
were
met weren't
bandits.
bandits. Oh, they were bandits. I thought
yeah.
they were soldiers or something.
No, they were bandits.
Holy shit. And did they steal your stuff or?
Nothing. Luckily, because I played dumb for 7 minutes.
What was your code again? What was the code?
If you can't confuse them, if you can't convince them, confuse them. Yeah.
I think we're gonna. I love this. This conversation was amazing, bro. Like insane. I enjoyed every second.
Thanks for having me. Really.
Yeah, you intrigued my curiosity in ways like I never knew were possible. Like my brain felt it was activated in different.
I mean, yeah, two ADHDers that sit down next to each other, it's going to end up being like that. But I'm also very inspired by what you said specifically of how you took control of your life by witnessing the death of one of your loved ones in front of you. I think that's really amazing. And I hope that for the people listening, they don't need to go through an experience like that to realize that they can take action, you know? I think it's about like understanding the big philosophical concepts of what life's about, what existence is about, and asking yourself the tough questions, but also practicalizing them by tackling specific habits on a daily basis that can help you discover who you are more and make you take decisions that scare you, but that will be the most fulfilling, you know, being outside of your comfort zone, etc. And it could be something that you could tackle on a routine type of life, on a daily type of life, or in grand adventures like cycling across Africa.
Yeah.
So you got the choice.
I think the big questions is a good place to start. Like like you said, I think this is a good place to end, where people can take away this question. If I had to die, would I be satisfied with the way I lived? Right?
Yeah, that's one of the big questions.
One of the big questions.
Another one would be, if I had all the money in the world and no obstacle or obstruction for my time, what would I be doing with it? You know, what would I be doing with my time if I didn't have any obstacles? If my parents didn't care about what I would do, if my friends wouldn't judge me with any decisions I would do, what would I do? Would I be a stripteaser? Yes. Then then you start asking yourself, what are the actual obstacles for me to reach this? If this is truly the intention that I want to be fulfilling, you know, those two questions are a great start to know what you want from life, I guess.
And there's a last point that really intrigues me. I know you journal a lot, obviously.
Yes.
There's the big questions, yet also there's the questions. Is there questions you ask yourself on a daily basis that you journal on, or a weekly basis?
Yeah, I think it's important to reassess constantly where you're at, you know?
Okay.
Sometimes you can get caught up, as you were saying, into work and life, you know, life stuff. And it's a distraction, or even the phone, you know, something as basic as the phone. It's always good to always recenter yourself. And I think the implementation of habits is good, or also a change of environments of friendships, you know. Sometimes being around people that are fighting to become every day a better person can make you also become a better person, you know.
So you ask yourself questions around these things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, am I in the right environments that will help me grow, etc.?
I think those questions come up naturally.
Okay.
Because my will to become the best version of myself is strong enough.
Yeah.
For me to keeping myself into check.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the will of becoming the best version of myself comes first with understanding myself and understanding the responsibility I have with myself to become the best version of myself, but also to my community, you know? Because if you fight to reach your full potential, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping everyone around you. You're inspiring them, but you're also objectively helping them on a practical level. So we all have this responsibility to become the best versions of ourselves.
Man, what a pleasure. Such an amazing episode. I enjoyed it. And I think for everyone, I'm going to put all the links for Roberto below. And if you don't check him out,
you're losing. I'm just kidding.
Like all marketing videos, you're missing out.
You're missing out. 50% discount 50% for the next week.
For the
so
next
you better subscribe, baby.
But yeah, check out Roberto. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and tune in for the next one. It's been your boy Aji. Ciao.